What if one of the most iconic historical events, the parting of the Red Sea, was not just a story? For centuries, the biblical account of the Israelites' escape from Egypt has fascinated and puzzled people, while skeptics questioned its authenticity. But recent discoveries may finally shed light on this ancient mystery, offering clues that could change how we see this legendary event. Modern science and archaeology have long been skeptical of miraculous events, with many dismissing the parting of the Red Sea as a myth or symbolic narrative. Yet, recent discoveries have breathed new life into the search for the truth behind this ancient mystery. Researchers have turned to technology, geography, and historical analysis to explore whether there could be real, tangible evidence supporting the biblical account. Biblical account of Red Sea crossing. The biblical story of the Red Sea crossing is one of the most well-known accounts in religious history, especially within Christianity and Judaism. According to the Book of Exodus, the Israelites, who had been enslaved in Egypt for centuries, were finally freed from their bondage under the leadership of Moses. But their escape was anything but smooth. Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, had a change of heart and sent his army to pursue them, determined to recapture his labor force. As the Israelites reached the shores of the Red Sea, they found themselves trapped. Behind them, Pharaoh's soldiers were closing in, and in front, an immense body of water stood in their way. It was at this moment that the Bible describes a divine intervention. According to the text, God instructed Moses to raise his staff, and the waters of the Red Sea parted, creating a dry path for the Israelites to cross to safety. This miraculous event not only allowed the Israelites to escape, but it also marked their complete break from the life of slavery they had endured for generations. The crossing of the Red Sea symbolized freedom, hope, and a new beginning for the people of Israel. It was more than just a physical escape. It was a defining moment in their spiritual journey, solidifying their faith in God. Once the Israelites had crossed safely, the Bible states that the waters returned to their place just as the Egyptian army was trying to follow. Pharaoh's soldiers, chariots, and horses were all drowned as the waters came crashing back down. This act of divine protection was seen as proof of God's power and favor toward the Israelites. For thousands of years, this story has been passed down through generations as one of the most miraculous events ever recorded. It remains central to the faith of millions, celebrated during religious ceremonies like Passover. But as incredible as the story sounds, many have questioned whether this event truly happened the way it's written. Could the Red Sea really have parted? Or is this purely a symbolic narrative? That's the mystery that continues to intrigue historians, theologians, and scientists alike. Skepticism and scientific curiosity. While the story of the Red Sea crossing holds immense religious significance, it has also sparked centuries of debate, particularly in scientific communities. The miraculous nature of parting a sea doesn't align with known natural laws, leading many to question whether this event occurred as described in the Bible. Skeptics argue that no scientific explanation could account for such a phenomenon, pointing out that bodies of water don't just split open to form dry paths. But for others, the absence of evidence has not been a deterrent. Instead, it has fueled a quest to discover whether the crossing of the Red Sea could be explained through natural phenomena or historical events. Archaeologists and historians have long sought to uncover the location of the crossing, using both ancient texts and modern technology to search for clues. This skepticism has driven scientists, historians, and archaeologists to ask fundamental questions. Did the Red Sea crossing actually happen? If it did, where and how could such an event take place? For those looking for definitive proof, the challenge lies in finding concrete evidence that can confirm or disprove the biblical account. This is where the problem begins. Events from thousands of years ago, particularly those with supernatural elements, are difficult to verify through traditional scientific methods. Throughout history, there have been various attempts to locate the exact spot where the Red Sea crossing might have occurred. Some have speculated that the crossing may have taken place in a different location, such as the shallow lakes to the north of the Red Sea. Others have suggested natural causes, such as strong winds or rare tides, that could have temporarily parted the waters. But despite these theories, no conclusive evidence has ever been found to support the exact details of the biblical story. Previous research and expeditions have often fallen short of providing clear answers. The sheer passage of time, environmental changes, and lack of physical evidence have hindered efforts to pinpoint the location or scientifically verify the event. Skeptics have used this absence of evidence to argue that the story is either exaggerated or purely symbolic. Yet, despite these challenges, the quest for answers has not stopped. In recent years, a new wave of scientific research has taken a more focused approach to the Red Sea crossing. Using advanced technology and fresh theories, these researchers aim to locate the specific point where the crossing may have happened, if at all. Could the answers to this ancient mystery be closer than ever? The renewed efforts are shedding light on what was once thought impossible to prove, key clues in biblical text. Building on scientific curiosity and skepticism, researchers began looking to the Bible itself for clues. The text provides geographical hints that have played a key role in attempts to locate where the crossing might have happened. The story clearly references Egypt, where the Israelites were enslaved, and mentions Mount Sinai, where they would eventually receive the Ten Commandments. Most importantly, it talks about the crossing of the Red Sea, though this term could have referred to several bodies of water. The Red Sea, or Yam Suf as it is called in Hebrew, has been central to this investigation. While the modern Red Sea is a large body of water between Egypt and Saudi Arabia, some scholars argue that the biblical Red Sea might have referred to smaller, more strategic bodies of water near Egypt. This includes lakes and shallow seas in the north, such as the Bitter Lakes or the Gulf of Aqaba. These geographical hints helped scientists to narrow down the possible crossing sites. Using descriptions from the Bible, they focused on large water bodies near Egypt that the Israelites could have encountered on their journey. For years, the leading theory was that the Gulf of Suez, located at the northern tip of the Red Sea, could have been the site. It seemed like a logical choice given its proximity to Egypt and the Sinai Peninsula, discovery of Gulf Aqaba. As research continued, the focus shifted to a promising new candidate for the crossing site, the Gulf of Aqaba. This body of water, located between the northeastern tip of the Sinai Peninsula and the western coast of Saudi Arabia, has emerged as a leading contender based on recent studies. One of the key factors in its favor is its depth, which reaches about 5,000 feet at its deepest point. This depth is significant because it aligns with the biblical description of a body of water, large enough to accommodate the dramatic parting described in the Exodus story. Underwater evidence of the crossing. One of the notable aspects of these discoveries is the presence of coral formations on the artifacts. This suggests that they have been submerged for thousands of years. Coral tends to grow on objects over long periods, so the growth on these artifacts supports the idea that they have been underwater for a significant amount of time, aligning with the biblical timeline of the Exodus. The alignment of these findings with the biblical timeline is another important factor. The artifacts discovered in the Gulf of Aqaba seem to fit within the period traditionally associated with the Exodus. This correlation between the physical evidence and the historical account adds weight to the theory that this area might indeed be where the Israelites crossed the Red Sea. One prominent theory is known as the wind set-down theory. This idea suggests that strong, sustained winds could have pushed the water back temporarily, creating a dry path through which the Israelites could have crossed. Wind set-down occurs when powerful winds move water away from the shore, exposing the seabed. Another theory explores the possibility of seismic activity, such as an underwater earthquake, causing a sudden shift in the seabed. This shift might have led to the temporary separation of the waters. In some cases, seismic activity can trigger tsunamis, which might have pushed water away and then caused it to return quickly. Meteorological events, like a rare weather phenomenon, could also be considered. For instance, some scientists propose that a combination of wind and low atmospheric pressure might have contributed to a temporary drop in sea levels. This could align with the biblical description of the waters parting and then coming back as the Israelites crossed. Controversy among scholars. Some experts argue that the artifacts and underwater structures discovered may not directly link to the Exodus story. They suggest that these findings could relate to other historical events or sites. This uncertainty raises questions about whether the evidence truly supports the biblical account or if it's coincidental. Critics also point out that the story of the Red Sea crossing could be a myth or a symbolic narrative rather than a historical fact. They argue that it might have been meant to convey a deeper meaning or moral lesson rather than to record an actual event. This view proposes that such stories were common in ancient cultures and served more to inspire or teach than to document real occurrences. Computer simulations have been used to model the wind set-down theory, with some studies showing that under the right conditions, winds of sufficient strength and duration could indeed have caused a temporary parting of the waters. While this theory doesn't account for the more miraculous elements of the story, it provides a scientifically plausible scenario for how such an event might have taken place. As research progresses, it's important to keep an open mind and consider how new discoveries could shed more light on this historic mystery. What do you think about the evidence and theories we've discussed? Do you believe we're getting closer to solving one of history's greatest mysteries? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like and share your thoughts and theories in the comments below.